Dear students, once again we will be face to face for another topic that is called emotional intelligence, and it is being hosted in ethics paper of just 4. And in emotional intelligence, usually 1 or 2 questions are asked in the mains examination of civil services, whether it is UPSC or JKS examinations. So what is the role of this emotional intelligence in bureaucracy in the civil services? Basically, before delving deep into this topic, let's understand why this has included in the ethics paper, emotional intelligence. Usually we are confronted with different problems in our day-to-day life, whether it is this technology dissemination, or we are having some this amendments in case of 73rd and 74th amendments. That is local population is involved in devising the policies. We are having many problems arise in our day-to-day life regarding this water, power, light energy and other things, irrigation, flood control, disaster management. So in nutshell, we can say that whenever people are facing any problem, basic facilities, there emerges conflicts. So in order to understand, in order to resolve the conflict or resolution in our country, in our state, and in the area where we are living, there is a dire need that we should have in this emotional intelligence, and we should know the emotions of the people so that we can arrive at some solutions. That is the reason this is being asked in the examination, emotional intelligence. The underlying reason is that it will enhance community mobilization, effective communication, strategic planning, and this conflict resolution. That is the reason this is being put in the ethics paper of GS4. So let's start. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is basically composed of 2 words. There's emotions and intelligence. Emotions are just our feelings in our which we witness in our day-to-day life. That is happiness, sorrow, celebration, festivities, whatever positive things we are having in our life. This gives abrupt change in emotions. They burst. So we feel whenever we are feeling sorrowness, happiness, any kind of excitement. Say we are passing any examination, we are having some marriage ceremony. These emotions does take place, and they bring us to the transient stage, excited stage, and we begin to we begin to celebrate the joy. Then, in a nutshell, we can say emotions are feelings which we witness in our day-to-day life, sorrowness or happiness. We all must have observed these kind of things. And what is intelligence? Intelligence is a set of cognitive abilities. It is a cognitive domain, that is mental domain, which helps us to acquire knowledge to solve the problems. That means it is a cognitive ability to acquire knowledge and to solve, so that we can acquire knowledge and we can arrive at some conclusion to solve some of the complexities of the life. That means emotional intelligence is to knowing the emotions of one's own and that of others, so that we can arrive at some conclusion, to sort out some complexities, to bring about the normalcy in our life. If we arrive at the definition of the emotional intelligence, there are many definitions which have been given by different philosophers. Basically, it is a philosophical, it has been taken up with the philosophy. And just some intelligence belongs to this psychological component. So what is emotional intelligence? If a layman asks this question, or if in the examination, if in an examination we are only asked the questions, what is emotional intelligence? You can say that emotional intelligence is the ability, capacity to understand our own emotions, to understand our own emotions and that of others, so that we can effectively communicate, we can effectively understand, and we can effectively arrive at some solutions. And we should also be aware that how our emotions affect our words and how how our words affect the people which surround in our relationships and in our organizations, whether it is corporate organization, government organization, public organization. This does impact our this workforce, human resource. That means emotional intelligence is the ability, the capacity to understand our own emotions and that of others, so that we can effectively communicate, we can handle our relationships, we can end chaos and confusion in our relationships. This is the dire need in civil service examinations, as we have to work in different sectors, different areas where there is accumulation of this human resource, and we have to organize, strategize the plans. There may be some conflicts. So when we are taking the help of emotional intelligence, it will abruptly help to minimize the chaos, the confusion, to arrive at some desired level of cooperation, leadership, etc. So if somebody is asking, or in an examination we are being asked what is emotional intelligence, what are the key elements which help us in emotional intelligence, we can say that emotional intelligence is the ability to understand our own feelings and that of others. What is the objective? What is the objective of emotional intelligence? The objective is to promote emotional and intellectual growth. Ultimately, it promotes emotional as well as intellectual growth, because when we are having this achieved intellectual growth, we can sort out all the complexities of the life. We can arrive at some desired level of normalcy. We can end chaos, confusion. We can end everything there, so that we can mutually respect each other, we can mutually understand each other, and it will help to be optimistic in our life. There are some of the key elements which help us to understand the concept of emotional intelligence. Number one is self-awareness. Number second, self-regulation. Number third, motivation. Number four, empathy. And number five, and last, is social skills. So, emotional intelligence is based on 5 pillars. That is self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Let's analyze each and everything in detail so that we can understand the basic elements on which this emotional intelligence depends or sustains. Number one, self-awareness. What is self-awareness? It is self-realization. To know one's own feelings, to know one's own thoughts, to know one's own behavior, to know one's own personality, to know one's traits, to know one's likings, dislikes, etc. That means we have to understand completely our own self first. Then we can impact, or we can change, or we can communicate effectively with third body, third person. Second, if we deeply analyze self-awareness, it's analysis of one's own thoughts. What kind of thoughts we are having, how our emotions, what kind of emotions are arising in our mind, and how these emotions can affect, impact their relationships, our friend circle, our organizations, our staff, our staff members in our domain. That means we should, and what are likely things we should, how we can know about self-awareness. We should talk out on daily basis. We should write our life, what are our likes, what are our dislikes, which kind of situations produce anger in ourselves, and what are the occasions which we like the most. What kind of people do we want to know and do we like in our life, and we should strategize about those things. We should write about that, so that, because our words, they are having a strong impact in our relationships, in our friend circle, in our each and every routine of life. So we should always observe our thoughts. We should analyze our thoughts. We should write down the thoughts, that what kind of thoughts are impacting our behavior, and how we can control those things, and we can bring this, try to bring perfection in our life, so that our